the tomb, taking the spices that they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly 2 men in dazzling clothes stood beside them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and on the 3rd day rise again." Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves. Then he went home, amazed at what had happened. The Gospel of our Lord. Please be seated. Jesus was dead. That's always where Easter begins. That's why the women gathered their spices and went to the tomb at early dawn. Because Jesus was dead. They had been at the cross. They saw him die. They watched as Joseph of Arimathea took the body down off the cross and brought it to this tomb and laid it in there. They watched the stone get put in place in front of the door to the tomb. All this because Jesus was dead. And they knew, as we all know too, that dead is dead. It is one of the few things in life we can really count on. The dead stay dead. And if you need proof, look out there. Nobody's gotten up and left. Jesus was most assuredly, well and truly dead. The women know it, and they go to the tomb because of it. And then they get it. And suddenly, what was so certain just moments before, suddenly wasn't so certain anymore. First of all, the stone had been moved. And well, who would do that? Why would that happen? As far as they knew, nobody else was going to come and anoint the body. So why would the stone have been moved away? Well, anyway, that's a mystery for later. So they go into the tomb to do their work. And well, there's no body there. Literally, there's nobody there. Just burial cloths, linens, just laying there. Well, this is, to say the least, perplexing. Probably something more than that, really, but perplexed will do for now. And while they are perplexing over this, well, 2 men show up. But not ordinary men. These are men in dazzling white clothing. For all intents and purposes, these are angels. And these 2 men in dazzling white clothes look at these confused and perplexed women and say in what I suspect is a not gentle voice, "What are you doing here? Why are you ladies standing here? Why are you looking for Jesus here? Why do you seek the living among the dead?" See, the women didn't know at that moment that that phrase, Jesus was dead, has one key word in it. Was. Past tense. Might have been once. He ain't anymore. He's not here. He has risen. It's already happened. It's over with. He's gone. You missed him. Dead? Wasn't dead. Dead wasn't the end. At least not here. At least not today. Well, now the women are terrified because they don't know what is going on. And these two men tell them to do something. Something very profound and very simple. Remember. Not remember your dead friend, but remember the words that Jesus spoke to you. Remember how he told you all about this. Remember how he told you this would happen. Especially remember that part he mentioned about rising again on the third day. Grief is funny that way, you know. For all we talk about remembering, the fact is we most often forget. Grief makes us forget things. And in their grief, the women have forgotten what Jesus said. In their grief, they have forgotten the promise that Jesus made to them. Basically, they forgot the good news in the midst of all the bad news. Jesus told them, death isn't the end you thought it was. Jesus told them, God has a new end for all of us. And that end is not actually an ending at all. God's final word for us, God's final plan for us is not death. It is life. Not life conditioned by death, but life that has conquered death. Life that has passed through death and come out the other side. Life that is eternal, life that is eternally happy, and life that is free from things like sorrow and grief and sickness and shame and suffering. Life that is lived fully and forever with God. Of course, that can only happen for us because it first happened for Jesus. Jesus was dead, but not anymore. Jesus was in the tomb, but not anymore. Death had claimed Jesus, but not anymore. Death has become a past tense thing for Jesus. And Jesus lives again. And now Jesus lives forever. And because Jesus lives, because Jesus has been raised, then we will live, and we too will be raised. Death will try and claim us, but Jesus has already claimed us. It's a done deal. Death will be past tense for us too. And suddenly, something we thought we could count on, death, is no longer so certain. Suddenly, as we live in a world filled and consumed and obsessed with death, we know that death is not so final, and death is not so powerful, and death is not so inescapable, because suddenly God has intervened. God has spoken a new word, and God has changed the rules. Suddenly God has broken into our lives, and broken into our world, and broken into our fear, and broken into our failure. Suddenly God has come into our darkness, and come into our doubts, and come into our despair. And suddenly God has challenged our ways of destruction and violence and death. God has said, here is another way. Here is my way. And God's way is the way of life, and the way of love, and the way of hope. Here is a new way, God's way. And it is the way of peace, and the way of light, and the way of healing. You know, if the dead don't stay dead, then what can we count on? In the light of Easter, God says to us, well, you can count on me. by raising Jesus from the dead, God says you can count on life. The life that I give, the life that I love, your life. God says you can count on this. That you are so special to God. That you are so wonderful and so beautiful and so necessary and so infinitely loved that God will do everything it takes. God will do whatever it takes to let you know that and to make sure that you believe that and to assure you that you are with God now and that you will always be with God forever. God will die for you. And God will rise for you as well. God will defeat death for you. God will show you the true depths of love. God will never, ever let you go. God will bring you up out of death. The little deaths that we die every day, and even the final death that now isn't actually so final after all. Because Easter is the victory of love. Easter is the victory of life. Love given to you. Love given for you. Happy Easter. Amen.